I knew something was wrong the second I heard her laugh through the door. It wasn't a soft, familiar laugh she saved for quiet moments with me. This one sounded lighter, almost nervous, like she was trying too hard to hide something. I stopped halfway down the hallway, groceries still in my arms, feeling my stomach twist in a way I couldn't explain. Nothing dramatic had happened yet, but something inside me knew the ground was already shifting. When I pushed the door open, she jumped. Emily snapped her phone screen down, so fast it knocked the glass of water beside her. Her eyes were wide in a way that made the rest of her face tense. She offered a smile that didn't reach anywhere near her eyes. "You're home early," she said. I told myself not to make anything of it. People get startled. People hide their screens for a lot of reasons. But the house felt heavy. It was quiet in the wrong way, like even the air didn't want to move. I set the bags on the table. She didn't get up to help, and Emily always helped. I didn't call out. I didn't want to start a fight built only on a feeling. Still, something in me felt the beginning of a bruise I couldn't see. She kept tapping the side of the phone with her thumb, avoiding my eyes. When I asked who she was talking to, she shrugged and said it was no one important. The words rolled out too quickly. She wasn't meeting my gaze. I felt a pressure in my chest that made me want to swallow, but it didn't go away. It should have ended there. It could have ended there. But once doubt enters your home, it begins slipping under doors and filling corners you didn't even know existed. Over the next week, she grew distant in small ways that were easy to explain at first. Longer showers. More nights scrolling on her phone after she thought I'd fallen asleep. A sudden interest in staying at work later, though she never spoke about what she was working on. When I tried to reach for her in bed, she tensed. Not dramatically. Just enough. "Long day," she whispered. "I'm tired." I told myself to be patient. Everyone goes through rough patches. Everyone gets stressed. But patience can only be honest when you believe what you're waiting for still exists. The first real crack came one night when she said she had a late meeting. She didn't lie with her voice. She lied with everything else. She avoided my eyes, kept brushing her hair even though it was already perfect, and wore perfume she usually saved for dates. I tried to ignore that part. I tried to pretend I hadn't noticed. She kissed my cheek before leaving. Her lips barely touched me. I sat on the couch long after she closed the door. My hands felt cold. I kept thinking about calling her, about asking if she wanted dinner together instead. But I didn't want to sound clingy or paranoid. I didn't want to be the kind of husband who accused without proof. Around 9, I decided to take out the trash. The night was still. I lifted the lid of the outside bin and saw something that stopped my breath. Her perfume bottle. The travel-size one. Empty. She always kept it in her purse. She never threw away perfume bottles outside. She saved them for recycling. Everything about it felt wrong. Too deliberate. Too careless. Too unlike her. I stared at it for a long time before stepping back. Something in my chest pulled tight, like a wire being stretched. I could feel my pulse in my throat. I tried to tell myself it meant nothing. Bottles get lost. People forget things. But my body felt like it knew something long before my mind could accept it. When she got home an hour later than expected, I asked how the meeting was. She said it was fine. She didn't look tired. She looked flushed. Her smile seemed forced, almost brittle, as if she hoped I wouldn't notice how different she felt standing in front of me. I didn't mention the perfume. I didn't ask why she wasn't carrying her purse. I didn't want to see her lie again. Some part of me was still hoping she'd tell me the truth on her own. The truth never came from her. It came from something small, almost invisible. 2 days later, her phone buzzed while she was in the shower. I didn't touch it. I didn't go looking. I only saw the preview on the screen. When I passed by, the sender's name wasn't saved. Just a number. The message said, "Let me know if he noticed anything. I can still feel your hands on me." My breath left me so fast, I had to steady myself against the counter. I felt a cold rush through my arms, then a heat so sharp it made my eyes sting. I didn't open the message. I didn't scroll. I didn't need more. I backed away from the phone, as if it could burn me. I wanted to scream, but nothing came out. My heart felt too tight, and my hands were shaking. When she came out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel and humming to herself, I couldn't look at her the same way. Something inside me had cracked. I felt like I was staring at someone wearing her face, someone inhabiting her voice, but not the person I'd built a life with. She noticed something in my expression. "Are you okay?" she asked. I nodded. It was automatic, maybe cowardly, maybe necessary. I didn't trust myself to speak. My voice felt like it might break into pieces if I tried. That night I lay beside her, staring at the ceiling while she slept inches away. Her breathing was even and calm. Mine wasn't. I kept hearing the words from the message. I kept seeing the way she had jumped when I walked in on her earlier that week. All the small signs formed a pattern I had been too hopeful or too scared to see. I didn't confront her the next morning, or the morning after that. I wanted to understand first. I wanted to know how long, why, who he was. I wanted answers, even though none of them would fix anything. The moment the truth finally surfaced wasn't planned. It happened in the most ordinary way possible. A Saturday, late morning. We were supposed to meet her sister for brunch. She was rushing, complaining about being late, grabbing her keys and coat. I walked behind her through the living room just as she bent to pick up her bag. Her phone slipped out of the side pocket. I saw the screen light up. A photo preview appeared. It was her, lying on a bed I didn't recognize. Her hair tousled, her smile completely different from the one she gave me, her hand on someone's chest. I froze. She didn't see me yet. She was still distracted, muttering about parking. I picked up the phone slowly. "Emily," I said, my voice low. She turned. The moment her eyes dropped the phone in my hand, something inside her face collapsed. And something inside me did too. She didn't try to lie this time. She didn't grab the phone out of my hand, or pretend she didn't understand what I was looking at. Her shoulders sank, and her breath hitched the way it does when someone knows the moment they feared has finally arrived. "Daniel," she whispered. I didn't speak. I couldn't. My throat felt too tight. Everything in me felt suspended between wanting to collapse and wanting to walk out the door without another word. She took a small step toward me. I stepped back. That tiny movement seemed to break her. "It's not what you think," she said. But even she seemed to hear how useless those words sounded. "I mean, it is, but it's not." "Don't," I said. "Please." She closed her mouth. Her eyes filled fast, like tears were ready to spill, but were trying to hold the line for one more second. I kept staring at the photo. It didn't feel real. It didn't look real. It felt like looking at a version of her taken from some parallel life I never knew she was living. "When?" I asked quietly. She swallowed. "A few months." Months. The word hit with a physical weight. Not a moment. Not a mistake. Not a single weak decision. Months meant intention. Months meant choice after choice after choice. Months meant there were two versions of her, and I only ever knew one. "Who is he?" She hesitated. I didn't have to force it out of her. She knew the cost of delaying anything now. "Someone from work." She said, "His name is Lucas." I felt the air leave me again. Not because I knew him, but because he wasn't some stranger in a bar, not someone she'd never see again. He was part of her life. Someone she saw every day. Someone she let into spaces that once belonged to us. I ran a hand over my face. The room felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. She reached toward me again, hands shaking. "I never meant for it to go this far," she said. "I didn't expect." "You didn't expect to get caught?" I asked. The question came out sharper than anything I'd said before. She flinched. "No, I didn't expect to lose myself like this. I didn't expect to hurt you. You didn't expect to betray me," I said. "But you did." Silence settled between us, heavy and painful. She lowered herself to the couch as if her legs couldn't hold her anymore. Her hands covered her face. "I wasn't happy," she finally said. Her voice was small. "Not because of you. I don't know what's wrong with me. I felt disconnected, empty, and he. Please don't tell me he made you feel alive." I said, "Please." She broke into quiet sobs. I stared at the floor. I could feel my heartbeat in my temples. Betrayal is strange. It doesn't hurt all at once. It spreads. It crawls through you slowly, touching everything you thought was solid. After a long moment, she looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. "What do you want to do?" she asked. "Tell me what to do. Tell me how to fix this." I almost laughed, not out of cruelty, but because the question felt so impossibly unfair, as if I had an instruction manual ready, as if healing something she broke was suddenly my responsibility. "I don't know," I said. "I'm still trying to understand what I'm even standing in right now." She nodded, wiping her face with the back of her hand. "I'll end it," she said quickly. "Right now. I'll call him. I'll block him. I'll quit my job if I have to. I just need you. I only want you." The words should have meant something. Once they would have. But now they just felt like empty phrases thrown at a sinking boat. I couldn't even tell if she meant them, or if she was just desperate. "You already made your choice," I said, over and over. She shook her head. "I didn't choose him over you. Every time you went to him," I said softly. "You did." Her sobs deepened. She leaned forward and held her stomach, like the pain was physical. Maybe it was. Maybe she was breaking too, in her own way, but I couldn't comfort her. I couldn't touch her. Something in me had gone quiet. Not angry quiet. Empty quiet. I walked to the window and pulled the curtain aside. Outside, the world kept going. Cars drove past. A couple walked a dog. A kid rode his bike down the sidewalk. Everything looked normal. My life didn't feel normal anymore. "Daniel," she said behind me, "please don't leave." I turned around slowly. That was the moment I realized something. She was terrified, but not of losing me. She was terrified of what her actions might cost her. It wasn't love reflected in her eyes. It was fear and guilt, and maybe confusion. "Do you love him?" I asked. She froze. Her breath caught. She hesitated. And in that hesitation, everything answered itself. "I thought I did," she said quietly. "But watching you look at me like this, watching you step away from me, I realized something. Losing you hurts more than anything I ever felt with him." My chest tightened. It was the truth, but it was too late. You can't unburn a house. I nodded once. "I need time," I said. "I need space. I can't breathe in here." She stood up fast, panic washing over her face. "Please, don't walk out. Not like this. We can talk. We can fix it." I grabbed my keys from the table. She reached for my arm, but stopped herself. Maybe she knew the touch would break something further. "I'm not leaving forever," I said, "but I can't stay here right now." Her voice cracked. "If you walk out, I don't know what that means for us." "I don't either," I said softly, "but staying won't give us answers." She broke again, pressing her hand to her mouth to muffle her crying. I walked to the door. Every step felt heavy, not because I doubted the choice, but because everything I thought I knew about my life was stretched thin behind me. When I reached the doorway, she whispered my name like a plea. I didn't turn around. If I had, I might have shattered too. The door shut behind me with a quiet click. I walked down the stairs, each step feeling like it carried years of weight. When I stepped outside, the cold air hit me hard. I breathed in deeply. It hurt, but at least the air was clean. I got into the car and sat there without starting it. The silence filled the space around me and inside me. I pressed my palms to my eyes, trying to stop the shaking in my chest. I had loved her so deeply that I had never imagined needing space from her. Now space was the only thing keeping me upright. After several minutes, I finally turned the key. As I pulled away from the apartment, I glanced at the window. She was standing there, watching me drive off. Her face was pressed to the glass. For a moment, she looked like she might open it and call out to me, but she didn't. I kept driving. Every light, every street, every tree blurred past. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to keep moving. My hands tightened on the steering wheel as the truth settled fully into my bones. She had betrayed me, and the worst part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was realizing that I had been loving someone who wasn't loving me back for a long time. Maybe she convinced herself she still did. Maybe part are tried. But the moment you let someone else into a place that's sacred, something changes forever. I pulled into a quiet parking lot by the waterfront. The sky was gray. The water moved slowly. I sat there until my breathing returned to something steady. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know if we would try to rebuild or if this was the beginning of the end. All I knew was that something inside me had cracked wide open and nothing would fit the same way again. When I finally stepped out of the car and felt the cold wind on my face, a strange clarity hit me. Her betrayal didn't define me, but her choices had changed us. Maybe love wasn't supposed to survive everything. Maybe some endings weren't failures. Maybe they were true surfacing. I stood there for a long time, letting the ache settle, letting the wind steady me. Even if she broke when she watched me leave, she wasn't the only one breaking. I had shattered too. Quietly, deeply, in ways no one else would ever fully understand. And as the wind pulled at my jacket, I realized something simple and painful. I didn't know if going back was even possible anymore. Not for the marriage, not for the trust, not for who I used to be. I stayed until the sky darkened, then finally turned toward whatever came next.